Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Umar Shankar.
Yes, who's this? Who's
Yeah,
talking?
this is Raju. Yes.
All right, all right. Yeah. Yes, yes.
Are you able to hear me? I'm
Yes,
audible.
yes, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
What time are we starting?
Sir, we are supposed to start at 3 o'clock. So we only have 13 participants for some odd reasons. So let's see right now. We'll just wait for a couple of minutes and we'll start the session, sir.
Only few members have attended the class today.
Yeah, that is, I don't know, I mean, there might be another webinar or.
Reason.
Sir, all right, we can maybe start the session and people would be joining in because people are coming in and because there's no one talking, they're leaving the meeting.
So how many of them are there right now?
17.
Hello.
Okay. So since this is a small group, let's start the other way around. If you can unmute everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and let's start with a few question answers because it's an extremely small group.
Yeah. True. Okay, all right. So guys, all of you can unmute yourself. So if you have any questions or if you have any queries about Bookshare or its membership.
Let's start with a few
All-
questions,
Yeah.
and then
So,
boys can join in.
yes.
So my name is Dr. Homiyar, and I represent Bookshare in the whole of Asia and Africa.
Hello.
I head the complete operations for Bookshare in Asia and Africa. So to flag off this little very informal conversation, let me understand from you guys, how many of you are not Bookshare members? So if you're not a Bookshare member, kindly just say your name so that we know the exact status of who's participating. How many of you are not Bookshare members? Can you just say your name, please?
Hi, my name is Anup. I was a Bookshare member previously, but presently I'm not a Bookshare member.
Okay, Anu. Anybody else?
Hi, Karthik here. I am also not a Bookshare member yet.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hello, sir. This is Shiva. Even I heard of Bookshare, but I'm not a member yet.
Okay. Karthik, Shiva, Anup. Okay. Anybody else? So I guess the rest of all, I presume that since they're not speaking up, they are Bookshare members. So the three of you, let me start by asking you one simple question. How do you get your reading materials? Are you partially cited? Are you able to use magnification, or you use other sources like Amazon or something else, or you use a PDF or you scan and read a book? What's your modus operandi? The question is to Anup, Shiva, and
Yeah.
what's the third one?
Yes, sir. Hi,
Karthik.
Anup here.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
I I kind of use Audible as a source of accessing any audiobooks, and I'm a low vision person.
Mhm.
But when it came to studying study material, I kind of used other low vision aids to read them. But in terms of accessing books, as such, I tend to prefer audiobooks.
Any particular reason for preferring audiobooks, Anup?
I feel it is a little more engaging for me to, stay engaged throughout the book
Mhm.
constantly, and I feel it's somewhat more entertaining for me when I listen another human being narrating a story to me
Narrate
or
the
reading
story, but
audiobook for me.
that's mainly for storybooks, right? Not for academic use.
Definitely not. Yeah, just for the storybooks. Yeah.
So how do you manage your academic use?
Uh, like I said, I finished my academics. So when I used to study, I used a lot of Logian aids, as well
Mhm.
as I had people helping me, recording lessons for me in audio format, and I tend to study from those.
Super.
Yeah.
Can we have reactions from the other two friends? So Karthik and who was the other one? I'm sorry, I'm poor with names. I keep on forgetting them.
Shiva.
Shiva. Yeah. So Shiva, can you tell us about how do you manage your needs,
Yes,
starting
sir.
with partially
Yes,
sighted or totally blind?
yeah. And I'm totally visually impaired. So, when it comes to my academics, I just get my book scanned and then convert it into OCR and read like that. But when it
Mhm.
comes to the other books, I try to find the I mean, archive versions of in the Google or PDF or something like that. Or if it's possible, if audiobooks are available on YouTube, I'll read that. Mostly, I don't. I mean, I like reading it with the help of the screen reader rather than the audiobook. So I mostly prefer to read the PDF books, PDF copies of the books if it's available in Google or something like that.
Correct. Now, what happens if you are reading a 400-page book and you left the book on page 239 at some point? So don't you find it irritating to go back to that point in the PDF?
I mean, if I remember the exact page number where I have actually missed out, I can just type in the page number and go to the page directly.
Agreed. And if somebody says you go to a particular heading in a particular chapter, how would you do that?
That may be a little difficult, sir.
That would be impossible, sir.
Yeah.
Right. Not just difficult, but impossible for a person with blindness unless you know that exact line and you could put it in the find in place and find that line and then waste all heck lot of a time searching for that rather than reading the content.
True.
True. So it's a total waste of time, money, energy, everything. Okay, let's listen for Karthik. How do you do that, my friend?
Hi. Yeah. So during my academics, I was blessed enough to have a disability services inside the university itself. And then whatever the books or the PDFs I was given, I was allowed to scan them and get that into an audio format. And if the material is too short, I'm a low vision too. So if the material is not that big, I was given a large font size. Apart from my academics, the only reason why I didn't get into a book reading is it was too stressful for me to read the books. And I didn't have any other equipment from my end to convert that into audiobooks or something like that. And now when it comes to PDFs, I kind of zoom up the PDF and try to read the PDFs.
Right. Almost dragging your nose on the screen, if I may say.
Yes.
In terms of low vision, yeah?
Yes.
You're scratching your nose more than reading. So it's pretty painful, it's pretty slow, time consuming, right?
Definitely. On top of it, too stressful.
Too stressful. Well, by the end of the third page, you're scratching your head, you're watering, and you don't know what to read. And yeah, it's a sad story everywhere. You're not the only one, Karthik. So one thing from the three of you, which has come out as common, is you are only depending upon those few academic books that somebody read to you, scanned for you, and give it to you. Am I right? That means your vision, your scope of reading is so limited compared to your sighted counterparts. Because you did not have access to accessible reading content in a format of your choice. Correct? There are three things here. Access to accessible reading format in a format of your choice. And then in a format of your choice has also got sub choices, how you want to read it, on what device you want to read it. All these options are there. For example, if you only have a PDF, it's going to be very difficult to read it on a small smartphone, right? It's going to be extremely painful to read it. If it's an image PDF, again, you'll have to depend on an OCR to convert that image PDF into an OCR. The OCR will create mistakes, scanning errors, all that stuff. And then, as I explained to Shiva, you won't be able to navigate within that also because there are no headings, no chapters, no nothing inside. It's all simple, plain, straightforward text. In case of Karthik, even if you enlarge the PDF, if you're reading on a mobile phone, you can't read it because the moment you start enlarging font, hardly one line or two lines will get covered in the screen area. And then you keep on scrolling and then you suddenly lose focus of the whole story and then you're back to square one. Where was I?
Absolutely.
Right. So these are the different challenges that are commonly faced by persons with blindness. You may be in your academic life, or you may have completed your academic life and you might be in a job, or you could be even retired and you want leisure reading. But everybody faces the same issues when it comes to accessible reading. And the biggest one is lack of accessible content. You just don't know where to look at. And that is where sources like Bookshare come to your rescue. With an overall collection of just under 9 lakh books. We are right now at 8 lakh, some 97,000 odd books. And we keep on adding roughly about 10 to 15,000 titles a month. Now you can imagine. Roughly 9 lakh books. And every month you look at it, there are some 10, 15,000 titles more. Now imagine the choice that you get as a reader when you are accessing so much of accessible content. Imagine challenges like the three of you are having. Somebody wants a book in large font. Somebody wants a book primarily in audio because you prefer audio. Somebody wants to read with a screen reader. Now, there is no library in this world which is going to give you all these three formats for a single book, except for Bookshare. For every Bookshare title, you can download the book in multiple formats. You can download it as an EPUB, a DAISY text only, a DAISY with images, or a Word file, or an audio file, provided it is English, or as a BRF file. That means a file which can be read using your refreshable braille displays if you have one. That means we serve each and every person with a print disability as per his requirements. That is number one. We cater to your needs. Now, talking about this almost 9 lakh titles, how are they distributed? More than 36 languages, including Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, Marathi, Hindi, Gujarati, and all the international major languages, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, everything is there. Number two, these 9 lakh titles are divided in different genres. And we have almost 50 different genres. Starting from simple arts, architecture, biographies, memoirs, disability related, engineering, science fiction, non-fiction, history, romance, religion, sports, you name it, we have it. And each of these genres would have thousands of different options to read from. We are directly connected with more than 950 publishers. And these are huge publishers. We are talking about publishers like Penguin House, Random Penguin House, or Oxford, or Cambridge, or HarperCollins, or Sage. All these publishers give direct access to their content the moment it is released for the general public. That means if a particular title is released by one of these publishers for the general public, it is sold somewhere, chances are there that you would be having access for that same title on that very same day as your sighted friends would have. They would be buying it from somewhere. You would be a privileged reader to read it from Bookshare absolutely free, provided you follow certain guidelines. Another advantage of these Bookshare books, you can read it on any platform of your choice. It could be an Android phone, it could be an iPhone, it could be your Windows-based laptop, it could be a MacBook, it could be a DAISY player, or it could be a refreshable braille display, or you could even print these books if you want in large font or whatever way you want to read it. Even if you have connections with a local braille press or you have access to a braille embosser, you can even print this books in braille if you are a braille addict. Another thing, file sizes. When we talk about audiobooks, there are certain limitations. Number one is the file size. Generally, a 200 to a 300 page book, if it's a novel and just the headings and not much in it, at least it would be 250 to 300 MB in size if it's a good recording. Now to download 300 MB, compared to that, if you download the same book from Bookshare as an EPUB or a DAISY with text only or a DAISY with images or a Word or a BRF, it would be less than 1 MB. Less than 1 MB. The file size would be in KBs. The audiobook, if it's an academic book, will not allow you to have any access to any spellings. So if there are some difficult spellings in the audiobook, the reader would just read the word and you won't have any idea as to how it is written in text. Sometimes you need to create assignments as academic students. You need to write your assignments. If it's an audiobook, it's absolutely helpless because you can't do anything. But if it's a digital book, as all these books are there on Bookshare, you can open this book in various applications, copy the text from there, create your own notes, write your own supplements around the text that you. So it becomes extremely helpful for you as an academic student. Another advantage, those who might want to study subjects like economics, accountancy, or even science, maths, chemistry. These days, all the Bookshare books, which might have an equation or a chart or a diagram, all these would be completely accessible. That means you would be able to navigate within an equation. If it's a square plus b square is equal to z square, you can use your right arrow keys on your laptop to go through a square plus b square plus z square. So if it's a complex equation, you can understand how easy it becomes to read these equations. If it's a complex table, you can navigate through the table and understand your pointers, which is displayed within the table. You can use your table navigation commands because all these tables would be accessible. Even your charts and graphs and diagrams and photographs, everything would have alt text to it. That means it would be described to you in context with the text surrounding that diagram. So you're not even losing out on the information which is conveyed within the diagrams and the images. That is the level of sophistication Bookshare books gives you. Now it is surprising that the three of you have missed out on so much of information whilst it is right there at your fingertips. So let me hear some feedback from those who have used Bookshare. There are 17 of you, so 3 have given me their feedback. Can we have some feedback from somebody who has used Bookshare and either found it difficult or very useful or not useful, whatever it is? We can have your feedback.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, please.
As you told many facilities about Bookshare,
Can I have your name, please?
Yeah,
Can I have your name, please?
Chetna speaking.
Yeah, Chetna, go ahead.
I just wanted to know that apart from these facilities, could we expect bookmark facility that would ease our accessibility
Absolutely.
in Bookshare?
Absolutely.
Do we have?
Yes. If you can mute, because there's a lot of background noise. If you're finished your question, and I'll answer your question. If you can mute, please. Thank you. Okay. Yes, bookmark facility is available on each and every book that you download, but that is not provided by Bookshare. The bookmark option is provided by the application in which you read these Bookshare books. For example, If you're using FS Reader, which is a bundled program with JAWS, FS Reader provides you options for bookmarking. If you're using Dolphin Easy Reader on your Android or your iPhone, the Dolphin Easy Reader provides you an option for bookmarking. If you're using Voice Dream Reader on your Android or your iPhone, the Dolphin Easy Reader application provides you bookmarking facilities. So Bookshare delivers you content in a form which is navigable. And I'm going to explain you what is navigable. I'm going to give you a cited perspective. How do your sighted friends read? The moment they pick up any printed book, the first thing they will open is the table of contents. The first thing they will do is scroll through the table of contents and look at all the chapters. And then if they find something interesting, they will look at the corresponding page number, turn to that page and start reading from that point onwards. Now, when you're reading a PDF, as Shiva was explaining, or Karthik might have experienced, even if you see the table of contents, in all probabilities, the links would be broken in that PDF and you would not be able to jump directly to the corresponding heading that is mentioned in the PDF. That means there are only two ways. You can scroll or you could use the go-to page and search for that heading. And again, doing that on a mobile platform is extremely difficult. If you're doing it on a laptop using Adobe Reader or something, probably you would have a better chance of navigating, but on a mobile platform, extremely difficult. Now, for example, you might be, I presume that you are from colleges, except for one or two of you. And if you're attending a lecture and your professor says, I'm referring to chapter 7, subheading 4, or 0.4.4 within that chapter, 7.4 in the chapter 7. So chapter 7, subheading 4, 7.4. The cited students would immediately be able to go to chapter 4 and then scroll within the pages and find 7.4. With a book from Bookshare, with the complete navigation within it, even you could immediately jump to chapter 7 and 7.4 directly and start reading it from there. It's that easy when we talk about navigations. This navigation is provided because we tag the books in such a way that all the elements within the book are made accessible. That means all the headings, all the graphics, all the tables, all the lists. If there is a list of elements like points A, B, C, D, E, or point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a list view, you can directly use your list view commands and jump to a bulleted list in the title. So with all these facilities, it would be very surprising if after knowing this, anyone would say, I don't want to read a book from Bookshare. Is there anyone still who's doubtful about a Bookshare book?
There's a question in the chat.
What is the question? Okay, introduce yourself, please, before you ask.
I'm
so
Zainab.
That everybody knows who.
I'm Zainab. I'm from the membership head of Bookshare. And there's a question from a person called Android Blue Droid. He's asking, do we use Mac type for our books?
Yes, we do. Not math type exactly, but we use math ML. So when we use math ML, and if your application supports math ML, and the application is the application in which you read your books with math content, in that case, you will be able to navigate within the math equation exactly as you would do using math type in a Word file. Is there any other questions in the chat? Okay. So any other questions before I move on?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
go
Hello.
ahead.
Hello.
Yes. Please, name. Just
Yeah,
don't say hello. If you say your name, I'll be able to answer back quickly.
Okay. I'm Raju, sir. So yes.
Raju, go ahead,
Yeah.
Raju.
So I used to use Bookshare 1 year back. Yeah. So I used to download a lot of books, a lot of story books, kind of things. But some I could able to download very quickly due to like speed or something. But I have a question here. You have EPUB format, Word format, everything, right? So the thing is, we are expecting you to upload the books in PDF format. Like, let's say nowadays PDF is accessible in systems, not in smartphones exactly, as you said before. But is it possible to do that?
And what advantage would you get by uploading a PDF on Bookshare? Can you turn down the radio in your background? Radio or the TV which is blaring in the background, please? Or you could move in another room.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, thank you. So what advantage would you get by uploading a PDF on Bookshare?
Okay. If I have to say this way, like we have JAWS nowadays, JAWS OCR, and it's reading PDF well, as I have experience. So this is my personal experience actually. So, and with NVIDIA also, somewhat we can read the PDF, but okay, as you said, but we should have that Google Chrome or some Microsoft Edge something. So yeah, this is only the advantage. That's it.
And even with Chrome, my friend, and even with JAWS OCR, you would be able to navigate the way I was explaining to you by heading, or by graphics, or by chapters, or by lists. All those features, what you would end up is just the text part of it, correct?
Right.
The images would not be described to you using alt text.
Okay.
Correct.
Right.
And if you still have to read a PDF, if you don't find it on Bookshare, nobody's stopping you from doing it by picking up a PDF and reading it using JAWS. But that's an incomplete reading experience that you're talking about. So what Bookshare prides in itself is providing its users a complete reading experience. When we say a complete reading experience, it is a near normal experience as enjoyed by your sighted peers.
Exactly.
That is what we pride in. So PDF, unfortunately, is not one of the best accessible formats.
Yeah.
And an image PDF, all of you might have experienced at some point in time, is one of the worst formats where sighted can see everything, and you as a person with sight loss is absolutely hampered unless you run an OCR. And even when you run an OCR, you're not guaranteed that 100% accuracy is maintained.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Especially if you run it in English, it will be better. But if you run it for Telugu, Tamil, or Kannada, it would be hopeless.
Right.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good. Any other?
Yes, there is one more question.
Please.
This person, Android Blue, please could you unmute yourself and ask the question? He's saying that some of the books in Bookshare are not available in his country. Now, which is his country? I need to know because he's not unmuted. And I mean, he's not written that.
So the reason why this gentleman is writing his country, Bookshare serves in more than 92 countries. So we need to understand where is he speaking from. Is he an Indian citizen, or is he joining this workshop somewhere else?
Yeah, Android Blue Droid, you can unmute yourself because we can't do it from our side.
Anyway, till he
India.
manages to
Yeah, we'll move
any
on.
other question.
He's
Yeah,
from
is-
India, he says. But
Okay, fine. So if you are from India,
Mhm.
now out of the 9
Hi.
books that we have, yeah, somebody's trying to speak. Go ahead,
Right, so
please.
hi. This is Anup here again. I just wanted to know say the possibility of viewing the content via an Android phone. I know you
Giving
said
it.
that viewing the books, the accessing the books through an Android phone. So, what is the applications that we need to use once we
Dolphin Easy
download the
Reader.
content? Dolphin, okay, and
You
that's
don't
for
need to download it separately, my friend, and we'll be demonstrating this as we go along in the series of workshops. There's a
okay,
separate
okay,
workshop for reading using Android applications.
okay,
There's a separate workshop for how to read it on your Windows application. The theme
okay.
that Uma has given me today is general Bookshare awareness. Hence, talking about the general Bookshare advantages today. And if you join us in the later sessions, we'll be exactly demonstrating how to read, what applications to use, how to sign in, all that stuff will come in.
And also, just to add in, right, the reason why I wasn't, like I said, I was a Bookshare user. Initially, I did sign up for Bookshare like a decade back. And the reason I could not continue further was because I could not find relevant books a decade back, say 13 years back, related to my academics. And that was one of the
And
main
what
reasons
is
why.
your academic field, sir?
Uh, I mean, basic, I would say, let's take an example of my subjects, math, science, whatever it could be. I'm talking about, say, the high school or the secondary school education. And as well as I did my business administration, and I could not find relevant books or the books that had been prescribed from my college back then. So
Okay.
and that was the reason why I could not pursue it. But then I did find other books where I find it interesting, like you said, fantasy, science fiction, and all those things. And also one of the main aspect is the accessibility that I need to be in front of a computer to do that, and I didn't have the facility back then. So that was one of the main reasons why I could not pursue. Just to answer to your question.
True. So 10 years is a long time if that's the
That's
period
true. That's
you
true.
are
That's true. Yeah.
mentioning.
Now I think
Right.
a lot of things have changed. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even the number of books, when 10 years back, we were probably talking about 200,000 books.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right now we're talking about 900,000 books.
True. True.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree to this point that not every book available in this world would be there on Bookshare.
Yeah.
And there is
Sure.
a reason
And
for that.
right.
Less
Right.
than
Right.
5% of the total printed materials available in open domain, less than 5% of the total printed materials available globally in the open domain, in the public domain, is accessible. And
Right.
out of that 5%, 70% is on Bookshare.
Okay. Got it.
You can imagine your problems,
Right.
right?
Right. Amazing.
So in India, what we have been focusing since I took over way back in 2015, and it's about 5 years now,
Right.
that number one, we have been concentrating on creating accessible textbooks for the schools, for the boards, textbook boards, AP board, Telangana board, Karnataka board, Tamil Nadu board, right? For the simple reason that if your school level education, at the school level, if you don't have the right textbooks in your hands, how are you going to get the basic knowledge before you go into college level education?
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And that too, when it comes to vernacular level medium books, it was a very sad situation. There were no books in Telugu 10 years back. There were no books in Kannada, Malayalam. Only few Tamil books and a few Hindi books. So now we have books in almost all the regional languages. All the 4 South Indian languages, Marathi, Gujarati, Hindi. Urdu we have started, Bangla we are introducing, Punjabi is there. So we are now moving and pushing forward and helping students to read at the school level, because many students, for example, above the grades of 9, 10, 11, 12, have at least access to smartphones.
Right.
The second thing we did was started creating content for universities. So for example, in AP, we have got the entire syllabus of your AP distance learning.
Mm-hmm.
It is right there on Bookshare. Your BA, MA, everything is there.
Okay.
So for those students who are pursuing, should be able to find something over there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe certain specific books which might not be there. But in general, I would say a lot of things is there.
Right.
Third thing which I would like to point out here is, if you are studying, say, for example, history, Indian history or international history or something, there are so many books regarding a certain topic, like Indian history, 1900 to 1947. Now, many authors would have written on that same era. Your professor might be say that you should read, say, Bala Subramanian's book. But there is another gentleman who might have written on the same topic, which is there on Bookshare. And again, you cannot rewrite history unless you are an absolute hoax. 90% of the facts would be there. If Balachandran has written or Subramani has written, they have to write about the facts between 1900 to 1947 if they are genuinely writing a book, right? So in all probabilities, if you look around, not by author, but by the title of the book, and if you read the synopsis of the book, you should be able to find similar books, if not same books, on Bookshare.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Right. For example, political science. There are thousands of books on political science. Literature. More than 100,000 books on English literature itself.
Right.
Now, if there are 100,000 books on English literature, and if you can't find a book which is, say, 80-90% similar to what you're looking at, I don't think Bookshare should exist.
Right.
Correct? Yeah,
Correct.
but if you're looking for something in a regional language, chances of finding it are very small, because the regional language content is slowly being developed.
Right.
It's a painstaking job when we recreate content at Bookshare. Each page has to be scanned, OCR'd, marked, proofread, all description provided. Then it gets converted to EPUB. Then it gets uploaded on Bookshare. So it's a long process and a very expensive process. We spend almost 35 to 40 rupees a page when we do all these processes for you.
Wow. Yeah.
So you can imagine just one academic year for a school level, there would be 8 subjects, 300 pages per subject. So 300 multiplied by 8, 2,400 pages. Multiply by even 30 for simplicity of math.
72,000.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a huge sum, right? Just to make one grade accessible. And then when people do not read them, criminal waste of our energy.
Yeah. I get it. I understand. And it's amazing that what you guys are doing. And I just wish that, probably I could have had access to such things in the past.
You could start
it would have made my life much more easier. Yeah. Now it's like, yeah, of course, I can start now.
Well, you don't need to read your school books, but then there's plenty of other things to read, And if you read, that's the advantage. If you read, probably this ignorance which you were suffering for the last 10 years, there are millions of friends who are not aware of these things. You pass it on to somebody else that, see, I did it. Why don't you also become a member of Bookshare? And why don't you read it?
True.
Right. So at this point, when I said member of Bookshare, Bookshare is a closed platform. It's not open to each and every person. It's not open to persons with normal sight. It's a library which is only open for persons with print disability. And this word print disability needs to be understood. Print disability doesn't mean only blind. It doesn't mean only person with sight loss, but also your friends who have dyslexia, your friends who have learning disabilities, your friends who have spasticity of their hands like cerebral palsy, somebody who has got paralysis of the hand and is not able to hold or turn a page of the book. All these are called print disabled. So Bookshare serves everybody who is a print disabled.
Right.
So how do
Right.
we become a member of Bookshare? So since we have Zainab on the call and she handles memberships, I would request her to explain this membership process before I go ahead. Over to you, Zainab.
Before I explain that, Homiyar, can you answer one question which is in the chat, please? There's Pratham Kumar Singh, Simply Reading and Dolphin Easy Reader, which is better?
Depending upon your choice, when you go to buy a shirt, there would be multiple brands available. You would wear it, try it, feel it, and then you will decide which one is good for you. Similarly, both Dolphin Easy Reader and Simply Reading are applications used for reading ebooks. Both connect to Bookshare directly, but both work in slightly different ways. One works mainly primarily on gestures, the other one works on simplicity of buttons. So you need to experience that. We will be demonstrating Dolphin Easy Reader as we go along because that's the recommended application from Bookshare. And if you still want to try Simply Reading, nobody's stopping you. Both are free. You should try them. You should use the one that you're comfortable with. Go ahead, Zainab. Sorry.
Yeah. So getting Bookshare membership is really simple. You just need to email me information like your first name, last name, date of birth, phone number, mail ID, and postal address, and a scanned copy of your disability certificate. Now, if you can't send me a scanned copy of your disability certificate, you can even WhatsApp it on our helpline number. Both these numbers will be put to you in the chat very soon by me. And I will also put the email address in the chat, and I'll repeat it also just now. First, the two helpline numbers are 9650 211 575. I repeat, 9650 211 575. And our technical helpline number is 9284 028466. I repeat, 9284028466. And our email address for sending your details or any queries is membership, MEMBERSHIP dash, as in the hyphen sign on the keyboard, India, that's INDIA, at bookshare.org, BOOKSHARE.org.
And the membership is completely free. So there's no reason why, if you are a person with print disability, you should not be availing the services of Bookshare. This is not a marketing strategy. This is something where we insist that persons with blindness should enjoy the same rights and the same preferences as a sighted person when it comes to accessible reading. We want people to enjoy the same level of independence when it comes to reading. Imagine all of you adults, all of you want to read novels, and you don't want to read all those pussycat stories. You want to read adult books. If you go to your reader or your friend or your volunteer, reading volunteer, and you tell him to read a adult book, both of you would be equally uncomfortable. But the same thing you could enjoy in the privacy of your home, of your bedroom, putting on headphones and listening to this book at your speed, at your convenience, with the voice that you prefer as a screen reader voice. This is the flexibility that we provide to you. We want you to enjoy reading and increase your knowledge or your leisure at par with others. Let's have some more comments.
Zainab and Dr. Homiyar, I just have a, I don't call it as a question, but I just have a thing to bring to your notice. When I was trying to access the bookshare.org website, so there is this, there is this disclaimer which says if you are not a US student, you have to take a membership at a payment.
Agreed.
So,
Then you did not research a little more when you go for list of countries.
yeah, I've done that too, but still it says.
And over there you will get the list of free countries, and India is one of them.
Yeah, I accessed India and it says you can take a membership, you can take a student membership. In brackets it says payment again. So
can you send me that link, because that
sure.
needs correction in that case?
Yeah, I'll do that, because
where
that
did you see
creates
that?
a confusion between.
Because I feel it's been updated with all my sort of reports. That was updated long back, and if it's still, you can find it somewhere hidden, please send it to us and we'll get it rectified as soon as possible. Send me
Sure,
that.
sure. I'll do that. And
thank you for pointing that out.
Sure. So is there any way for people to maybe recommend or ask or suggest books that which could be put on the Bookshare platform? Is there any such way?
Absolutely, there is a way. There are a couple of conditions. As I said, book creation is expensive, right? So we need to be a little selective as Bookshare where to use our funds. It should not happen that we create something and nobody's there to read it, or it's just one Uma Shankar wants one book and Alok would require something else and Shiva wants something else. So individually we cannot cater to all your requests because it's expensive. Provided if you're bearing the cost of the production, yes, we can cater to your request. But in general terms, if there is a request from, say, an academic group of students, say 10, 15, 20 students of some program at Hyderabad Central, want a certain book to be made accessible. And yes, because there is a group request, we would definitely look into that. For that, the conditions are all the persons who are requesting the book should be Bookshare members. So we need to have the names and the email IDs of all the persons who are requesting that title or that many titles. We have no problems with a number of titles also. Number two, because our production house is not based out of Hyderabad, you should be sending that book to us in Pune. If it's a Telugu title, then we have got guys in Hyderabad who would do it. But if it's another title, then in all probabilities, the Pune guys would be doing it. So you'll have to send us that book. And you are not supposed to send us library books because we'll have to unbind that book for a better scanning experience.
Yeah.
So library books will not be returned back in the same condition that we receive it. If you found a PDF from some source and you want to make that PDF accessible, provided the PDF is cover to cover, then you can even send us the PDF. And we shall make that PDF accessible and put it up on Bookshare. If that PDF has, say, it's accountancy or an economics books and has got charts and graphs and equations and whatsoever, we'll make all that equations accessible for you.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So there has to be a group request to make things more affordable. Right? Otherwise,
since
we are money the way we are spending.
Yeah, since we are talking about PDF format, I just have one more point to just put forward. So there is an online repository called JSTOR, if you heard about it. So JSTOR is one of the very few very few online repositories or journals which provide the maximum number of journals, periodicals, and even research papers for all the major universities like JNU, HCU, and other central.
I agree.
Yeah. So is there any way? It's just a greedy question. I understand, but is there any way to integrate or because they provide PDF books free to be downloaded and for free.
See, as I explained, we don't ingest PDF directly because PDFs are not accessible in the first place.
Yeah, that is I was coming.
So we'll have to reconvert them.
So it's that
the whole of JSTOR is not a wise option, but if you have a selection of PDFs required for your studies, send us those PDFs. Be a little patient because there's no magic one where we just put
I know.
in a converter and everything comes out accessible on the other side. There's a manual intervention. Depending upon the complexity of the PDF and the way it has been created, some PDF editors create their books in such a hopeless way that we need to actually strip it apart block by block and then reconstruct the accessible Word copy. And then the accessible Word copy goes into EPUB, because we can't run just an OCR and be sure that everything is going to come out well, especially if there are multiple columns in the book. Definitely throw you a lot of errors. So we'll have to strip it apart. So you need to be a little patient, but yes, your content will be made accessible provided the numbers are there. People are there to read it. Right?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Android Blue Droid has asked the same question, so he must have got his answer. Even he's doing research and he uses JSTOR. So anyway, so he's got his answer.
But one Android Blue Droid is not going to be sufficient for us. We need
No,
to be
he just said that.
People who should be requesting the same titles. So that is why I had asked Umashankar to provide us with a list of all the members registered with Bookshare in HCU, so that we know how many students are there who are Bookshare members and how many are not there on Bookshare, so that we can register them, we can create awareness amongst the students, so that these students can also start using all these wonderful resources and just not depend upon a few scanned books here and there.
Yeah, and I'm already on it, so hopefully we'll get the whatever details that we want in next 1 week or a couple of weeks.
Wonderful.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Please. Your name, please.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Sudhakar from Hyderabad. It is very happy to be here, sir. Thanks for the English session on Bookshare. So I have two questions. One exactly related to Bookshare and the other in general. So general question is, I want to know what is Marrakesh Treaty. So, and the other question is, can we get magazines like Reader's Digest? Can we get that magazines in the Bookshare? So these are my two questions. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Sudhakar. So Marrakesh Treaty, very important question. Before the Marrakesh Treaty came into force, what was happening was cross-border distribution or exchange of books was not allowed because of the copyright law. So copyright law, which protects the integrity of the publishers in each country, prohibits or used to prohibit exchange of books. Even if they were made accessible for persons with blindness in one country, you could not share them with persons with blindness or print disability in another country. So something which was made in, say, India could not be shared with Sri Lanka or could not be shared with Nepal, or if Nepal has created something, they cannot give it to us officially. This would apply even to your leisure reading books. So for example, if a novel has been created in accessible formats in a country, in India, you have to again recreate the same content by spending time, money, energy, everything. So this was the situation before Marrakesh. So then lots of countries got together, lots of large organizations like the World Blind Union, the DISY Consortium, BENTEC, that is the parent body of Bookshare, all these countries, organizations got together and they said that we should bring in legislation which should protect the rights of the publishers on one side and should also allow cross-border exchange of accessible materials specifically for the use of print disabled. So there are lots of clauses in there that this material should not be distributed to anybody else. So that applies to Bookshare also. You cannot give Bookshare content to anybody else except for your own self. You're not supposed to share it, distribute it. You're supposed to read it from your own account. So if Sudhakar has a Bookshare account, he cannot download books and give it to Alok. Alok has to have his own account and he should download books for himself. Similarly, you cannot send these books over the internet and you should not be sharing them because these books are watermarked. Maybe it is Bookshare book or some other libraries. All Marrakesh exchangeable books are watermarked. So they are easily trackable. And once they are tracked to a particular account from where the book has been leaked, there are serious consequences. And I'm using the word serious consequences for that person. A lot of unwanted legislation and lawsuits and all that stuff comes up. Because there are lots of publishers who don't want this to happen. So they are after any sort of violation of the Marrakesh Treaty or the infringement of the copyright law. So this Marrakesh Treaty was signed and India was the first country to ratify it. And after India, now there are more than 80 countries, or I could be even wrong, there are more than 90 countries who have ratified the Marrakesh Treaty. Even US and the complete European Union have ratified it now, so that any content which is created under Marrakesh, under the copyrights law of US, can now be accessed by citizens in India. What does that transpire into for Bookshare? Bookshare receives content from a lot of countries because we serve 92 countries. We are partnered with large libraries like RNIB, the Canadian National Library, then the Vision Australia Library, lots of these libraries. So these are all Bookshare partner libraries. So if there's any material which has been created under Marrakesh in any of these libraries, you can directly have access to that material in India through Bookshare. That means just 1 year back, where Marrakesh eligible content for Bookshare in India was about 4 lakh books. Suddenly with the Bookshare Marrakesh implementation, this number has jumped to more than 6 lakh books. So suddenly we have got access to 2 lakh international books, which were previously not available to us in India. But still, if you log on to Bookshare, sometimes you will come across certain titles where it will say not available for your country. Why is that? That is because certain publishers who donate their books to Bookshare still put in some reservations in terms of geographical distribution. So some publishers would come in and say, we want this book only to be given to persons with print disability in the United States. So if you log in from India, you cannot get access to those books. Similarly, if there is some publisher in India which says this book should not be given to anybody outside India, even if you log in from Bhutan or Bangladesh or Pakistan, you can't get access to that book. So there are a couple of 100,000 books on Bookshare which are still under these clauses, and we are working closely with the publishers trying to convince them to open these content for rest of the world. And that's a slow process which keeps on happening, and we keep on adding new titles, and most of the new titles are generally having worldwide rights. So that is the answer to your first question, Sudhakar. Can you repeat your second question, Sudhakar? What was that? The specific question that you asked?
Sir, my second question is, can we get magazines in the Bookshare?
Yeah. Reader's
Magazines
Digest,
like,
you mentioned.
Reader's Digest and American Federation for the Blind.
Correct. Now, again, that's a work in progress. if you are a Bookshare member, if you're using Dolphin Easy Reader on your phone, under the side menu, which is on the top left, if you go there, you will see a section called Books and Magazines. There are quite a few books and magazines which are there on Bookshare, which are provided to us by the National Federation of the Blind in US. But this process was started some 10 years back when there was no Marrakesh, there was no cross-border service available. And hence these magazines, most of them have a restricted access to US only. And we are still working on that with NFB in the US to allow these magazines to be distributed worldwide. Second thing, which is a very sad thing. The DAISY Forum of India started release of 2 magazines on a regular basis. One was India Today, and the second one was Reader's Digest. Every new, what can you say, every new publication of these 2 magazines was made accessible and put out. They ran this service for almost 2 years, but there were no takers. There were hardly 5-10 readers in the whole of India who wanted to read these books. That means this service became so difficult to maintain because there were no users. It had to be discontinued. And this is because of lack of awareness. Lack of awareness on 2 fronts. Number one, generally today, these days, people don't want to read, sighted or blind. They want to have ready-made stuff in their pockets. They want to have micro-managed stuff in their pockets. Like they would prefer reading a guide rather than a textbook. They would rather prefer reading a concise assignment from a professor, and he would say, this is what I'm going to ask in the exams, and they would not bother to touch the textbook. Similarly, even for those who are going for current affairs and examinations and competitive exams, they are also looking at all these little concised magazines which come out every Yojana and Kurukshetra, and they just depend on those magazines rather than look at these magazines in general. So it's a bad reading habit which has destroyed the demand. Secondly, our education system, especially for the blind, over the years, over decades, the blind had been subjected to being read to by some volunteer. And obviously the volunteers are not going to read to them everything. The technology was not there during those days where everything could be made available. Recording was a very cumbersome task. To record one book, it's very difficult to edit it. So 1 hour of recording would require 1.5 to 2 hours of editing. All that taken into consideration, there was very little material available for the blind, and that led to a general reduction in their reading habits. Now, suddenly when you have access to all these materials, still people are dependent on those old style reading and learning habits. So people don't want to read. They'll just say, let me just read what is required, and I don't want to read anything more. So that's the general decay in our reading habits. So that's the reason. Have I answered your questions?
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Hi, Karthik here again. I'm sorry if I missed in the beginning. I would like to know the name of the speaker.
My name is Dr. Homiyar, and it's spelled as Homiyar.
Okay. Doctor, just curious to know, I mean, if I may ask, are you also visually challenged or sighted?
Yes, the answer is yes. I have retinitis pigmentosa. I lost my vision over a period of time.
Okay. That's the reason why you've been more focused on the accessibility part. If you said you were sighted, I just wanted to ask you what has inspired you to get into the accessibility side of the Bookshare. But all that answers my question now.
So let me tell you about my little journey in life. So I started my career with sight, partial sight, because RP, I had always partial vision, not full, entire vision, but I could read like you, Karthik, scratch my nose and read. And that's why I use the word scratch my nose and read. I was doing the same thing till I could. I did my physiotherapy and with lots of pain, because physiotherapy is something where you need to read plenty of materials. So fortunately, I had vision at that time, which allowed me to read with those nice fat glasses with a reading lamp and all that, poking my nose inside, watering eyes, all that stuff, but still I managed. I completed my academics in the year when was that? 1986, way back. And then practiced as a clinical physiotherapist. I had my own practice, my own clinic. In the year 2001, when there was this earthquake in Gujarat, in the city of Bhuj, I was appointed as the chief rehabilitation coordinator for all the rehab services after the earthquake. And I used to manage a team of 13 visually impaired physiotherapists over there, along with the other sighted folks. And this was a record in its way, where persons with visual impairment or with disability were serving people in a disaster zone where the normal so-called were running away from that zone. So there's a lot of appreciation for this effort, and we were able to do a lot of good work in those days. Keeping that experience in mind, then in 2005, I started the Physiotherapy College for the Blind in Ahmedabad. That's my base, that's my hometown. And that college is still running. So that was a 3.5-year program that we started. And for the first time in India, for any organization serving the blind, we introduced digital learning. That means there was no braille. We used computers in the classroom in 2005. All lectures were recorded. Technology was not as robust as it is today. But we used to record all the lectures. The students were taught the use of computers in the first 3 months. It was mandatory that you use computers. They would then manage all their recordings. There would be all these PDFs, and we used to convert those PDFs using Open Book and Abbey Fine Reader in those days and make them accessible in Word, or convert PDFs into audio, or we used to pick up all those old recordings. We used to get it from RNIB, that's Royal National Institute for the Blind. These are all physiotherapy related stuff on cassettes, and then we transferred them into CDs and made them DAISY navigable, all that stuff we used to do in 2005 to 2010 till I was there. Now, the effect of all this use of digital technology and providing the students access to a lot of reading materials and a lot of knowledge was that till the time I was there in the college for those 5 years, the employability ratio of the students was extremely high. That means students who passed out from the program were able to compete at par with their sighted counterparts because they had the right knowledge, because they had the right training, they had the right exposure. They were not pampered with scribes. They were not pampered with sort of constricted materials which they would just wrote and vomit out in their exams. No, we wanted them to become perfect in whatever they learned, because they were going to go out and deal with human lives. Is something which put me on the track of accessibility. In 2010, I moved away from my clinical practice and I was invited to reform an old vocational training center for the blind in Pune, which was called the Technical Training Institute. So this was a very old institution, started in early 1950s. and which was outdated by the time I took it over in 2010, and they were running all sorts of absolute courses like chalk making and candle making and all rubbish programs that you often come to associate with blind. I use the word rubbish because after learning these programs, you can't even buy a cup of tea for yourself. So we transformed that program into a skill training program where we introduced computers, where we introduced new courses. And this was for the first time in this organization that this whole new concept of telecalling for the blind using computers was born. We partnered with Vodafone and we started the call center where students used to use computers. They would be given Excel files to look at, and they would be doing the calling. And then after the calls, they would put in all their feedback in their Excel file and submit it to their managers and all that stuff. This whole process, which is now taken for granted as a good opportunity for many students with blindness who have just completed their basic education, started there. There were other programs which also started, like the diet and nutrition. So we trained persons with visual impairment as dietitians and lots of other good stuff. So again, we managed to place a lot of people into mainstream employment. After 2013, I switched over to the National Association for the Blind as the CEO there in Delhi. And this is where we focused on inclusive education. We wanted our students to be at par in the schools that they studied. And these are all inclusive schools. They were all mainstream schools. So the students would reside at the NAB campus, but then they would go to mainstream schools, 23 schools across South Delhi, study with sighted children. These students would carry laptops instead of their textbooks, and all their textbooks would be there on their laptops. So these students were then encouraged to take notes as the sighted students would do with their paper and pen. These students would type their notes. Slowly, they would increase their speed of writing. They would improve their spellings. And gradually, we would encourage them to write their own exams without the help of scribes. Now, effect of that program was those students who came out of that system went to prestigious colleges of Delhi. And when they came out of these colleges in Delhi, using their digital skills, finding employment for them, and I'm talking about corporate employment, not the government quotas. Finding corporate employment for them was a cakewalk, because these students were able to use and demonstrate the use of technology to their HR managers during the interviews at par with any sighted person. And this is one thing that Bookshare is currently focusing on. We want students to get rid of this word scribes and writers, because that is one thing which is never going to take you to a meaningful employment level. Your employability skills will never be there. As a person who's seeking employment, an employer would require at least that you should be able to read and write at par with their other sighted counterparts. If you're not able to do that, if you're not able to write proper English, because that's one of the major requirements in any corporate jobs. If you're not able to have command over your spellings, or you are not able to do sighted way of formatting a document, your document is shabby when you're presenting it, you cannot gain employment, or you don't deserve to be even looked at for such employment. Then your only option for you is the government quotas. And government will give you jobs. It won't give you careers. If you're looking at a career, you should have the right skill sets as a starting point. And the right skill sets start with knowledge, because unless you have the right knowledge, you cannot be a part of that mainstream society. The right skill sets means digital literacy, not just reading, but also writing fluently, accurately, and with the correct sighted way of formatting, the right body language, communication skills. All this together makes you employable. So we partner with a lot of organizations today as Bookshare. Organizations like Enable India in Bangalore, organizations like Chakshumati in Kerala, KVF in Chennai. Then we have partners like XRCVC, the Xavier's Resource Center in Mumbai. So these are partners who believe in what we do, who believe in skilling people, not pampering people, who believe in creating individuals who can live a life with dignity, not to be counted as just a poor blind. We don't want that to happen. We don't want you to be counted as, "Arey, poor chap, blind, papa, he can't do anything, sorry." We are not for that. We want to transform this society where you, as educated people having degrees and master's degrees and doctorates, I've seen people at JNU, forget everybody, JNU, students are not even able to write their own simple applications. How are they going to work? You might be a PhD, forget who wants your PhD. You can't even bloody write a simple application. It has got 10 mistakes in it, spellings mistakes. This is the status of our education, my friends. And that is what we are here to rectify. By providing you with access to knowledge, by providing you with the right environment and guiding you towards employability. So this is what we do, and a little bit of background about myself. Any questions?
Thanks a lot for sharing. Truly inspiring, and hopefully most of us would get some motivation and work towards our success careers that we are all in. And just with your permission, can I get the email address of yours from Uma Shankar in case if I need to contact you for any suggestions or advice?
It's right there in the chat, membership-india.bookshare.org.
Okay.
Right. We have a common email. All book requests, membership requests, and your personal requests come to that. And then they would be sent out to the team depending upon who it is addressed to. You can just put the word attention, Dr. Homiyar, and it comes to me.
Already put it in the chat.
Right. Just a word about this lady that you're hearing. You heard my story. Hers is equally inspiring. She is also a person with blindness, low vision, but a vision that doesn't serve much vision. She's not able to read. She's able to sort of walk around independently, but not during the day. She finds it extremely difficult to walk in the day because of the bright light. She can only see in dark. But she is a French translator, and not just a French translator, a person who has run her own independent business, employing sighted people under her as a full-fledged translating company. It's just her madness and passion of working in this sector that she gave up all that hard work of 20 years. She used to teach 200 students in a college, French. She gave up all that stuff. And now she is serving the community because she believes in what we do. So that is this lady for you. A French translator, fluent in French. Her French is better than her English. She says that. So there are ample opportunities. And we have been talking to a lot of organizations who want to help people like you guys in professional trainings, not just the standard government jobs. I'm not against government jobs, but I repeat, government jobs do not give you a career. They just give you a job. If you're looking for a career, you should look out. You should look outwards. And you should look out at this wonderful opportunities which have started coming in. Our last program on Bookshare, which was just held yesterday, we have this lady from the Indic AI Foundation. Their website is indicai.org. And this website provides opportunities for people who are interested in different skilling programs, like professional courses, like digital marketing and finance and MBAs and this and that. They connect you to the right organizations. They provide you with accessible learning materials from reputed organizations like this, Vedantu and Career Grabber and all these people. They would put up all these materials. They would connect you to them for higher support. So these are the organizations that Bookshare partners with. Unfortunately, that program was, say, 70% in Hindi, 30% in English. For those who are challenged with Hindi, still you'd be able to understand from that English whatever was spoken. Especially during the presentation, there was a lot of English which was used. In the question answer session, because the questions were in Hindi, we had to answer them in Hindi. So I would be happy if you guys could refer to that session and see what is useful to you. Any other questions?
All right. If you guys still have any more doubts, or if you want to ask anything, you can ask away.
This is Raju here.
Yes, Raju.
Raju, go ahead.
Yeah. So, sir, actually, every Sunday you are doing the webinars, right? So through Bookshare platform, right? All right.
Yes.
So, yeah, we know that. Yeah, you are sending the audio recordings also through mail. That will be appreciable. And another thing is that, do we have YouTube channel, like everything you put on, like in that, so that everyone can.
So just get in touch with the Bookshare helpline, and they will send you a complete list of all the YouTube links of all the programs till date.
Okay.
And then you keep on following.
Even if you'll put the request on the email, no, we'll send it to you.
Membership-India also, you can send a request. Please send us the YouTube links and we'll send you the entire list. Or you could contact any of the helpline numbers, especially 9650, and they'll immediately send it to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, Dr. Homiyar, I think we can wrap up the session here, unless if you want, if you have anything more to share with the people.
If there is any other request, please come forward, or we can end, and you could just announce for what are we going to do tomorrow.
All right. So from Wednesday, we are going to have 4 webinars from Bookshare again. So the Wednesday's webinar would be on reading solutions on Windows. So we will be exploring all the different softwares and methods with which we can do our reading on Windows, especially so Windows laptops or Windows PCs. So we will be having an exploration and demonstration of all these different softwares and various methods. So it will be really insightful, because now that this session has begun, it is kind of a teaser to what we are going to have in our next 4 webinars. So we really want all of you guys to be there and take as much as you can away. So
one more piece of information which I would like to give to participants, and these are pretty literate group of people, highly educated, self-motivated. So instead of me spoon feeding you everything, I would be very happy if you come out with your questions. And for that, please go to the Bookshare website. Even if you are not a member today, you can still visit the Bookshare website, and that is bookshare.org. You can navigate through the entire website. You can search for titles in the search bar. You can do an advanced search and filter your titles. You can browse through different sets of collections that we have. These are all the 3 links which are there on the main page. By doing so, you'll get a good idea about what is Bookshare, and you will be able to come out with your questions. when you come out with questions, we can point our answers and solve your queries. But for a group like yours, spoon feeding, I don't think is the right way forward. You guys should start looking at bookshare.org. If you're not a member, start writing to membership-india@bookshare.org. Get your credentials sorted off. If you've forgotten your password, use your option on the Bookshare website, which is forgot password, and it will send a link to your registered email. If you've even forgotten your email and you've changed your email and you want to change your old email to a new email, contact the Bookshare helpline again, or write a mail with your old email is this, new email is this, name this, all your credentials, please pass it on, and they'll be very happy to help you. Okay? So start exploring before Wednesday, before the next session. In that case, if you explored and you come up with questions, we'll be able to move much faster rather than take you piece by piece as we do for other people who are not as proficient as you guys are. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Homiyar.
To
So
only Uma or to rest of them also?
I think Uma is telling on all behalf of all of us.
I don't think that's the right thing. I would like to hear voices
Definitely.
and say, good. Right? So try it out. It's all for you. We do all this work just because we want you to use it. Right? So please go ahead and utilize what is there free for you. Enjoy. Good luck and see you on Wednesday, 3 o'clock.
thank you so much.
Participation number, final number, how many people are there today?
It is 18. I mean, it is hovering
18.
between 25 and 18. So now
Yes,
it's 18.
correct. Fine. Spread this word to your friends so that more and more people can join and get this benefit of English. And if there are any people who feel that even English is a barrier to them, they want something in Telugu, has been telling me that he can translate everything in Telugu.
For Telugu, I'm here. You don't have to worry about
So
that.
can you speak that out in Telugu and tell people, for those who are shy of asking questions, they can do that in Telugu also. Even to say,
సో మీ అంటే ఎవరికైనా సరే క్వశ్చన్స్ కానీ డౌట్స్ కానీ ఆర్ ఏదైనా రిక్వెస్ట్ కానీ ఏమైనా ఉంటే మీరు హ్యాపీగా తెలుగులో అడగవచ్చు, నో ప్రాబ్లం ఎట్ ఆల్. సో నేను ట్రాన్స్లేట్ చేస్తాను. సో లాంగ్వేజ్ ప్రాబ్లం వల్ల భయపడి అడగకుండా మాత్రం ఉండకండి. సో క్వశ్చన్స్ అనే కాదు, ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ రిక్వెస్ట్ ఆర్ ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఎనీ డౌట్స్ ఇన్ యూజింగ్ ద బుక్ షేర్ లేకపోతే హాయ్ నందిని.
Yeah. Okay, I will go. Okay, we go with apple go. Go with apple. Okay, madam. Color book today. Could get it follow go. Okay, okay, big up. Okay, particular big up. Can you make it quite okay? Come on, go.
యాక్చువల్లీ అంటే నాకు నీ క్వశ్చన్ అర్థం కాలేదు బేసిక్లీ.
ఉమాశంకర్ గోరీడర్ గురించి అడుగుతున్నారు సార్.
గోరి అది అర్థమైంది. అంటే యాప్ లో పారాగ్రాఫ్ ఓకే అర్థమైంది.
Okay.
So what is the question?
So she asks, I don't know how relevant is the question, but there
all
is an
questions
app.
Are relevant. Number one.
Yeah. So
right? There is no irrelevant question because participant is not able to understand. The question is relevant. Simple. So please don't feel shy.
So there is an app called Goreed on Net, right? So
correct.
She finds it hard to read the content, the book content, and
correct.
With the gesture navigation.
The answer is Goreed is an old application from Bookshare. We have discontinued support for Goreed. That is why we now only support Dolphin Easy Reader. And Dolphin Easy Reader is the official app for Bookshare, and we'll be demonstrating that in detail If all of you can download Dolphin Easy Reader on your iPhones and your Android phones, be ready with the login details and everything. It would be great. You will be able to do a lot of good work during that session. So you can translate that back into Telugu for her.
Nandini, go read.
Yeah, I understood.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
wonderful. Wonderful, Nandini.
Maki
Any more
big-
questions?
Yeah,
Nandini?
she has one more question. Yeah, yes, Nandini. Adugu,
Oh,
Nandini.
happen. Please take me happening. Particularly.
Sorry.
Happening. Can you particularly go?
Sure. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Anything that I can be of any help?
No, she just wants me to send the app link, Dolphin Easy Reader.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Dolphin Reader, if you go on your Play Store, just don't put the word Easy Reader. There are many applications called Easy Reader. Use the word Dolphin Easy Reader. Even you can do a voice search for Dolphin Easy Reader and it should come up as your first option. So install that. It is completely free and extremely accessible. Even for people like Alok and Karthik who are low vision, there are a lot of settings in this application wherein you can actually customize this application depending upon your residual vision. So you can change the font, you can change the font type, font face, background color, font color, highlight color, lots of things are there for persons with low vision. So we'll take this as we go along, but just if you guys want to play around with it before we go there, all yours.
Definitely. So I'll also share the Bookshare membership contact and the helpline contact and the email as well on the WhatsApp group that we have. So if you guys have any doubts, maybe we can take forward the discussion over there so that we can connect to what Dr. Homiyar is going to present on the Wednesday. So, all right. So we will wrap up the session, Dr. Homiyar.
Thank you guys. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much everybody for joining in. Yeah, so see you all in the Wednesday's webinar. So this is Uma Shankar from Voice of VIP officially signing.